Hello, YouTube. This is the Galley La Podcast, and today we are going to be reviewing One Piece manga chapter 1102, Life of Kuma. Please like and subscribe if you have not. This is Akainu Fanboy, the other guy is Geboss. So, let us start here. Gboss, we have Bonnie eating with some wolves, some hot dogs.
Hmm.
Maybe this is symbolic of the celestial dragons and the world government and the Gorosei because there's 5 wolves.
Exactly. She's like the, because she's technically a celestial dragon. She's the sheep in wolf's clothing, as it were.
It's the celestial tribute.
Yeah.
Hot dogs.
Exactly.
Right.
Such deep symbolism. Goda indeed.
Based. So when we're here, with the opening scene, where it basically shows Bonnie starting her, time as a Supernova. And her crew, and we don't really see any notable crew members, kind of like a Killer the Kid or Zoro the Luffy kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
But we do, what I did find interesting, just on one little note here, is like the Marines are saying, we got orders to bring them in immediately. They say the last city was attacked, was packed with injured seniors and little children. So it is interesting kind of when you see some of the grunt Marines, they're actually like good people, because they just kind of believe the propaganda that Bonnie's a terrible person and everything, you know, and they want to act on it. So just kind of a note there that not all the Marines are bad, or the, you know, it's just kind of the government's the rotting thing, which is why the revolutionaries want to take them out, you know.
I can't believe Bonnie is such a horrible person to do that. Only attacking the helpless.
Which is like similar. She's living, she's living up to Kuma's name too, right?
Mhm.
You know, where I mean, well, how Kuma's smeared too, right? So they're just another parallel there.
Yeah.
As they're uniquely bad people.
Hmm. But yeah, we get to see a lot of her like philosophies on being a pirate, quote unquote pirate, because she's just kind of looking for Kuma, and she's I see her as more in line with like Luffy's philosophy of of pirating, rather than other people like Kid or Bege or some of the other supernovas. What I want to know also is how she got a higher bounty than Uroge, because he is he's the lowest supernova bounty, and I think she even has a higher
Is it this
bounty.
moment?
Well, I mean, like when they were introduced.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I
Gotcha.
think she had a higher one than Zoro.
Yeah, I think it, to an extent it makes sense considering her lineage and all that and her relation to Kuma, right? You know, so I think it's starting to make more sense with that kind of stuff, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I forgot about Rouge. Like, it was even part of the story until you brought that up. So
He's gonna be important. He's the only one
he's gonna
that
help take down Kaido at the end of Wano. Oh wait, never mind. But, yeah.
He's the only one that we haven't really had any interaction with in the main story. But anyway.
Yeah. So, which I do kind of find. So yeah, it was interesting. And then she said she's hoping to find Nika as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it could kind of parallel. You're talking about the characteristics similar with Luffy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, she wants to find him, and that's why they have a lot in common, you know. So it was kind of funny. So I guess I'll make this like succinct. I guess I kind of wish the end, like this flashback of kind of his whole journey was kind of maybe like left for the anime, and that they just showed the very end of this chapter to be put at the end of the last chapter, you know, to kind of like save a week. That would kind of be like my only critique, you know. Because I kind of feel like a lot of this was unnecessary. It could have just been saved for the anime, you know. But you know, like we do get some new stuff, like see Jinbei's reaction to him getting his first bounty and that he found out that Arlong was taken out.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a cool little panel. I did like that.
Yeah. And yeah, this is the first time we've seen Smoker in like 300 chapters. Only in flashback. But I don't know. I think I disagree with you on this. I think because I will say I will take the L that I thought this was going to go on for like 2 or 3 more chapters of Flashback, but you said that it was only going to go on for like maybe 1 more, which you were correct.
Ooh, W.
But the thing with this, like, I think we had discussed in our previous discussions that we kind of needed to see Kuma's perspective from all these incidents, from like Sabaody and Thriller Bark, which is touched upon, but it's not like overly dwelled on. Which I thought that pace might have. I thought that was the pace that was going to be going, but yeah.
Yeah, it was just kind of like an aerial view of everything, and I mean, it was cool to kind of see him see all the pacifistas at Egghead Island. I thought that was a really cool panel, and I mean, like, I like seeing the overview and everything. I just kind of wish it was more in the anime, but it was cool to kind of see the Thriller Bark panels again, and maybe kind of just helps connect, like, full circle, like, you know, the flashback leading to all these events in Kuma. It is just really exceptional to kind of see how Oda's presented this and everything, you know. And it was cool to see him get his call to go to Marineford as well, you know. But it was immediately right before, you know, he completely loses his consciousness.
Yeah, and it really makes sense, the whole like how he was on Sabaody, that whole thing with sending Luffy away, because he was there to see Bonnie. Like, he was able to see her one last time, and it kind of shows how, like, important Luffy is to all of this too, because Kuma saw firsthand with Luffy what happened on Thriller Bark, how his crew is willing to sacrifice themselves and his powers and everything, and same with Luffy going after the Celestial Dragons, like, not even caring about that at all. It's kind of like the true, like, Kuma as a revolutionary wants to change the world, but he's going about it in kind of like an indirect way, whereas Luffy is just going, like, he doesn't care about the implications of his actions. He just does what he thinks is right, and I feel like that's what Kuma really wants to do, and he sees Luffy in that, and he susses out that Luffy is he's betting on Luffy being Nika.
Right.
Yeah.
What did you think about Kuma not talking with Bonnie as Sabaody?
I mean, I guess he's still monitored by the, what's it called? He's monitored by the government, I think, still. So just go, them being in contact, I think, would put Bonnie at even more risk. So I think that's what we're to draw from this. But yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
So it was kind of, no, I think that's fair. It adds to the tragedy a little bit more too. And it was kind of interesting to see the parallel panels with Sentomaru Kizaru again, right? And Oda's kind of purposely making that connection with Egghead. Like, this is a continuation of Egghead in a way, because Kuma's like, you know, you got it wrong. You're too weak to be here right now. You're just not ready for the new world. And so, like, yeah, I can see how some would say, you know, the Straw Hats are going to have a victory, but I think at the same time, from how we've been seeing the arc play out, it's looking more and more to be like a type of partial defeat, basically, where Kuma's going to sacrifice himself. Like, the theme's going to be more focused on Kuma's vindication and self-sacrifice, coming full circle, saving Bonnie's life one last time, right? Rather than this hasn't as much been the focus with, like, the Straw Hats exceeding their expectations from Sabaody again. You know, Oda's definitely going more in the former in this circumstance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, speaking of like what will happen in the future, we see Vegapunk talking about like a self-destruct mechanism that Saturn wants to be implanted in Kuma. So from what I see, I think it would be ironic if Kuma used that self-destruct device to like take out Saturn or something, or heavily wound him. Because Vegapunk's like, oh, I can like put a switch in that like can basically turn him on and off like his consciousness. We should go with that instead. But Saturn's like, no.
Yeah, no. He's not a fan for sure.
But
he wants him to be a complete slave.
Exactly. But one thing I did find interesting, like Vegapunk was like, but if we do that, Kuma won't get to reunite with Bonnie at all. And Saturn says, it's good to know how you feel. What? I didn't know you'd be able to overhear. Weren't you the one that gave me superhuman hearing? So is he like, does that imply like Saturn's like a cyborg maybe? Because it seems
or it could just be an extension of the Devil Fruit, like he just has good hearing maybe. Or just really good hockey maybe.
I don't know. From how I read it, it sounds like Vegapunk did something to Saturn to give him like good hearing at least. So
that's possible, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe he's some sort of cyborg. Maybe like Kuma sacrifices himself and tries to take out Saturn, but it like blows off his skin and shows like like a robot skeleton or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I found that kind of interesting in this, just from one little line. But yeah.
Yeah, so when we see Kuma's parting words and everything too, you know, it's just kind of like what we've been seeing before, but so heartbreaking, you know, where he's saying that he's going to put all of his hopes on Luffy, and, you know, Vegapunk's like, why not the revolutionaries, you know, and all this stuff. He said, you know, he just thinks, you know, unorthodox thinking is proof of your humanity, basically, at the end of the day, which I think does explain just Kuma's whole life, you know. He's kind of like a walking contradiction in so many ways, you know. So, being the dog of the government to, you know, being inflicted by the government to being a revolutionary and then working for the government, you know, he's kind of like all over the place, you know. And so I think makes more sense that he would be more in line with Luffy, and because he likes Nika, right? And Nika is all this contradiction stuff. So, I think it kind of makes sense in the end. So it was kind of interesting, and then we get to see how his memories are, you know, sliced off right here, and we get a quick recap of basically the whole flashback, more or less. So kind of the pivotal moments, and it's just freaking heartbreaking. Yeah, and you just see him running and tired. His whole life was like a life of service, you know.
Yeah, that whole page is like you said, it's like heartbreaking to see. But it also reminds me, like, Kuma's doing that right now. He's running. He's trying to get he's trying to get somewhere. And
with the melted off face.
Yeah, and the burnt leg and everything.
Yep.
Yeah. And the whole Vegapunk, like, your life hasn't caused anyone harm or trouble, but your death will pain everyone who loves you, and you're a hero too. And yeah, I think Oda's just done a really good job, like, recontextualizing Kuma and, like, putting him, because, like, you can try, and other authors might be able to do this, like, try to shove in, like, oh, they were like this all along, with characters in their stories, but sometimes it just falls flat. But
Madara. Yeah, right.
Yeah. But yeah, this really made me appreciate Kuma. He's definitely I think he's top 25 at least characters for me.
Top 10 for me. I think he's
really?
at that point now. Yeah.
But yeah, I also love like when Vegapunk flips the switch, like everyone's like praying and Sentomaru's doing like a sign of respect and everything.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
And just heartbreaking. And like you said, like it's not like ad hoc a lot of what they did with his character, because you always knew, you had the sense like there was something up with him and there was something weird with him, He'd be an antagonist to the Straw Hats and save their lives, dog of the government, right? So there was always kind of something mysterious about this guy, and then it's just perfectly fleshed out later,
Yeah.
So, but the final panel with please wish her a happy 10th birthday. That's just one of the most, I think, heartbreaking panels in the whole story right there,
Yeah.
Because I was kind of thinking about this. Another thing Bonnie may have found out through the memories is she's a celestial dragon now, and that she came from like most likely like like a type of rape, right? Too. So she has that because she assumed Kuma was her dad this entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you also got to take into consideration that she's like technically only 12.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel like out of all the supernovas that have gotten featured, like I feel like she's even up there with like Kid in Law now as one of the best written ones. Because I mean, it was fun to like team up in Whole Cake with like Bege and and like Hawkins and Apu had their thing in Wano, but like we didn't get this level of complexity with them or backstory.
Yeah, and look, I want to give Oda credit too. Like, it takes a lot of skill to juggle all the supernovas and to like not just sidebar them like Naruto with like all the other groups, right? Kiba, Shikamaru and all them, right? They just don't get thrown off to the sides as leftovers. Like they've all played like pivotal roles in the story and also be well fleshed out as characters too.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Where would you rate this flashback in terms of like all the other flashbacks?
How about in terms of supernovas? Is that better? Maybe.
I don't know. Like, would you rate this better than like Zoro's flashback?
Yes.
With Kuina. I mean, that one was pretty hard to hit. Like the Kuina stuff was sad. I wish that she had like gone out better, but yeah, this level of world building and everything just tops it. I need to go back and like reread all the other stuff, but this is definitely up there for me. It's definitely better than Kaido's.
I like Law better as a character, but I do think she has a better flashback than Law at this point.
Yeah.
I mean that's really hard.
Exactly. Because
I might have to step back from that statement. I don't know. They might be like a legit tie. I'm not sure at this point.
Yeah. It's kind of like a like Law has his flashback and it heavily features like Corazon, which is like who's a fan favorite. This is like the equivalent of that with Kuma. It's technically like Bonnie's. Well, I guess it's Kuma's flashback because it shows like all of Kuma's memories, but contextualized around Bonnie. But yeah, those two flashbacks I feel like really elevate the characters that are in them a lot. Like I'm even like more sympathetic to Vegapunk after this.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not gonna have us go super long, but I was just kind of thinking, We never really got a flashback for Kid.
We're saving it because he's gonna be the one that takes out Shanks eventually.
Hey, it's possible. I'll just say that. But
actually, I think Oda addressed Kid and Killer's flashbacks or their backstories in an SBS. So I don't think he's gonna address it in the main story. I don't think it's important enough.
I'm doubtful about that, to be honest. I definitely think that he's eventually gonna get one, to be honest. So
well,
I just didn't think there was.
Yeah, I know he definitely said something about their whole like how they met and everything in an SBS.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know if he would go too in depth with it.
Would it be guess kind of like the most fitting place would be like Wano, but Wano was so packed to the brim already. You know, like it would have just been too much. You know.
Yeah.
So, I just kind of a thought about that there, but yeah. So she is one of the best. I think she has a better flashback than Robin. I think I'm fair to say that at this point. You know.
Ooh, that's a hard one.
Yeah,
because Robin's is up there too. Like all the flashbacks are up there.
Yeah, Kaido's flashback.
Yeah, Kaido's is the one that dropped the ball. I think it's like 4 pages. It's like
I thought it was panels.
Yeah, it's not even expounded on in the anime where everything else is expanded.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to get back to the main story now because that's where it looks like Oda's like, okay, we're finishing off 2023 with the flashback because we have a break next week. Although I don't know if the scanners are gonna drop it early or what, but 2023 ends with the flashback and then onward because he said stuff at the Jump Festa about potential matchups not going the way that we might think. Yeah.
Lucci becomes the strongest swordsman in the world, and we'll leave it at there.
Exactly.
So please like and subscribe, everyone. I don't think this will be our last video of the year, but regardless, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's and all that. So, thanks most of all for subscribing. Please like and subscribe if you have not, and we will talk to you soon. Peace.
See ya.